Welcome, travelers of time and seekers of gentle calm. Tonight, we leave behind the noise of battles, politics, and grand medieval spectacles. Instead, we stepped quietly into the soft, serene world of cats, companions of the Middle Ages whose lives were measured in naps, warmth, and gentle observation. From barns to cloisters, from castles to humble cottages, these felines moved gracefully through daily life, shaping the rhythm of the homes they inhabited. Their presence was calming, their habits surprisingly sophisticated, and their naps deeply important. Together, we will explore the history of medieval cat naps. We'll wander through manuscripts, hear whispers of folklore, and imagine the cozy corners where cats curled in peace. It is a journey of quiet observation, where the simple act of resting reveals a timeless bond between humans and their feline companions. So settle into your own comfortable spot. Let your body soften, and allow the gentle rhythm of history and the soft purrs of our imagined medieval cats to guide you into relaxation, curiosity, and calm. In the soft hush of evening, when the world begins to settle and the last embers in the hearth glow a gentle red, there is a certain peace that invites the mind to wander back through time, not toward kings and battles, nor toward grand discoveries or sweeping events, but toward the small, quiet details of life that so often slip through the pages of history unnoticed. And among these overlooked aspects, perhaps none are quite as charming or as unexpectedly soothing as the napping habits of medieval cats. At first thought, the idea may seem trivial. Why, one might wonder, would we spend our time exploring when, where, and how cats slept in the Middle Ages? Yet there is something comforting in these quiet corners of history. They remind us that even in centuries filled with hardship, uncertainty, and constant labor, there were still moments of stillness, moments marked, not by conflict or duty, but by the soft breathing of a dozing feline curled beside a hearthstone. The medieval world was anything but gentle. Harsh winters swept across stone villages. Life expectancy was short, illness was common, and the dangers of work and travel lingered everywhere. Yet even within this rough landscape, people found companionship in the creatures that lived beside them. And of all the animals that shared their homes and workplaces, cats held a particularly special place. They were hunters, protectors, and sometimes symbols of good fortune. But above all, they were quiet presences, small guardians of the night who brought a sense of comfort simply by being near. To study their naps is to study the slow, peaceful rhythm of medieval domestic life. It invites us into kitchens, warmed by glowing fires, into barns filled with the sweet scent of hay, into monasteries where candlelight flickered across stone floors, and into castle chambers where soft rushes were laid beneath heavy wooden furniture. In all these places, cats found their resting spots and claimed them with the timeless certainty of creatures who know exactly where they belong. And it is this sense of belonging, this quiet partnership between humans and cats, that makes the topic so soothing. A medieval cat sleeping in the corner of a cottage offers us more than a historical curiosity. It offers a glimpse into the universality of comfort. The way a cat curls into warmth, the way it stretches slowly before settling once more, speaks to a continuity between past and present. The same soft purring we hear today once echoed through the wooden walls of medieval homes. As we begin this gentle journey, imagine stepping into a village at dusk. The air is cool, carrying the faint scent of wood smoke. A baker's oven has just been extinguished for the night. A shepherd guides the last of his flock into their pen. A few villagers linger near doorways, speaking softly beneath the dimming sky. And somewhere nearby, tucked against a warm stone wall, a small cat rests eyes half closed, tail curled neatly around its body, listening to the world settle. This is the image that welcomes us into the story. Not a scene of drama or noise, but one of peace. Medieval people lived lives filled with noise and activity, hammering, milling, tending fires, sewing, farming. Yet the sight of a resting cat offered a momentary pause, a reminder that even in busy lives, rest was necessary and natural. It is no wonder that people of the Middle Ages began depicting sleeping cats in their manuscripts, drawings, and painted margins. These images were simple, but they captured something deeply familiar: the ease and trust of a creature at peace. In illuminated manuscripts, we find cats curled among vines, Cats dozing beside monks' books. Cats tucked near the edges of illustrated pages, as though claiming their own quiet corner of history. Their presence is often whimsical, almost playful, yet always gentle. The medieval scribes who added these small details seemed to understand that life was not defined solely by solemnity. There was room even in religious manuscripts for small scenes of daily comfort, and the sight of a cat in peaceful repose was comfort indeed. But beyond artwork, medieval writings also revealed the presence of cats as everyday companions. Letters, accounts, and brief mentions scattered throughout historical texts show that people acknowledged the habits of their feline residents. They knew that cats preferred warm places. They noted that cats slept often, especially after a night of hunting. They wrote of cats curled beneath furniture during storms, or stretched lazily in patches of sunlight during the rare calm hours of the day. To follow these traces through history is to slow down, to set aside the heavy events of medieval life, and instead rest alongside the quiet creatures who lived it with the humans of their time. The story of medieval catnaps is not about heroism or triumph. It is about small, gentle moments that remind us that rest has always been a part of life, even in times when survival was difficult. Cats found space to close their eyes and breathe deeply, and humans paused long enough to notice. As we begin this 10-chapter journey, you may find that your own breathing slows. The world outside your window might soften, just as the medieval world softened beneath lamplight or candle glow. These nights, centuries apart, share the same desire for command, perhaps the same quiet companionship from a cat curled near you now. So let this first chapter serve as your gentle introduction. There is no need to rush. History, after all, moves at the pace we choose to follow it. Tonight, we choose a slow pace, guided by soft paws, half-closed eyes, and the steady comfort of a creature that mastered rest long before humans began documenting its habits. Let us now step deeper into this peaceful past and explore the world in which medieval cats lived, worked, and most importantly, when we imagine the medieval world, it often comes to us in fragments: a stone wall, a flickering candle, the distant call of a bell, the soft creak of a wooden door. Yet for the cats who lived during these centuries, this world was not a series of distant images. It was home, and to understand how and where they rested, we first need to settle ourselves into the environment they walked through every day. Picture, if you will, a small medieval village just before dawn. The sky is still dim, painted with the soft gray-blue of early morning. Thin trails of smoke slip upward from a handful of chimneys. The ground is cool beneath a thin blanket of mist. As the first signs of waking life stir, a rooster calling, the shuffle of someone preparing kindling, a cat slips quietly between buildings, its paws silent on the damp earth. This world, built of stone, wood, and straw, shaped every habit of the medieval cat. Houses were small and simple, often with just 1 or 2 rooms, and the floor was not the polished surface we know today. Instead, it was made of packed earth, covered here and there with rushes or straw that needed frequent sweeping. These rushes, mixed with herbs like lavender or mint, formed a natural cushion that cats, much like humans, found surprisingly comfortable. The walls were thick and rough, made to keep out the chill. Their texture retained warmth from the day warmth that lingered long after the sun had set. For a cat, these stone walls were not merely structures. They were heated resting spots. A cat could press its side against the stones, soaking in the stored warmth, and fall into a soft, long sleep. Outside, the world was equally alive with textures and scents. Straw-filled barns offered dry spaces for mice, and therefore worked for cats. But they also provided haylofts and piles of soft bedding where cats could settle down after a night of hunting. In these barns, the scent of grain, livestock, and wood mixed into a warm blend that made cats feel both alert and at ease. They were never far from their duties, yet they always found time to rest. In wealthier homes, manor houses or small castles, cats experienced a different environment. These spaces were larger, filled with tapestries, wooden furniture, and warmed chambers. Cats in such settings often found sleeping spots on window ledges where sunlight streamed through narrow slits in the stone. They curled atop folded cloaks, nestled into corners beneath wooden chests, or rested on cushions that servants set aside. The stone walls here were thicker, the air warmer, and the floors, sometimes lined with layered rushes or rugs, offered a level of comfort few village cats knew. Beyond homes and barns, the medieval world included monasteries, quiet sanctuaries where cats lived alongside monks. These stone corridors, lined with cool tiles and flickering candlestands, were not known for softness, yet cats made them their own. They found the warmest spots, beneath desks in scriptoriums, near ovens in the kitchen, or on sun-warmed stone benches in open courtyards. Monastery cats lived in a near-constant atmosphere of silence and routine, making their daily naps blend effortlessly with the rhythm of monastic life. Every medieval structure, whether humble or grand, had its own unique combination of sounds and sensations. Cats grew accustomed to the creak of wooden beams expanding in heat, the low murmur of voices, the crackle of a hearth, the flutter of parchment turning, and the soft rustle of mice in the walls. These familiar noises created an atmosphere in which rest felt safe and natural. The climate, too, shaped their sleeping habits. Medieval winters were often harsh, particularly during the cold periods of the early and high Middle Ages. Snow piled against doors, icy winds blew through narrow streets, and nights stretched long and frigid. During these seasons, cats sought the warmest corners near hearthstones, under blankets, beside boiling pots, or nestled with other animals for shared warmth. Their daytime naps became longer, deeper, and more frequent as their bodies conserved energy to withstand the cold. By contrast, summer brought a gentler warmth. Fields grew tall, bees hummed in the meadows, and sunlight filtered through timber beams in golden slants. Cats followed the sun as it moved across their world, shifting from one warm patch to another as the day progressed. A spot on a wooden bench in the morning, the top of a stone wall by midday, and a soft patch of grass in the afternoon. Each offered its own comfort. The medieval night also shaped the rhythm of cat life. When the sun dipped below the horizon, darkness took over swiftly. Without modern brightness, the medieval night was truly dark, a thick, shadowed landscape lit only by moonlight, stars, or the occasional lantern. For cats, this was the natural time for activity. Their eyes, far keener than those of humans, allowed them to slip silently through alleys and across rooftops. And when the hunt ended, when the first light of morning colored the world again, they returned to rest in the familiar warmth of home. In this environment, sometimes harsh, sometimes cozy, cats adapted their sleeping habits not through choice, but through instinct and necessity. Every stone surface, every bundle of straw, every patch of sunlight became part of their world. Their naps were not luxuries. They were essential moments of recovery. Human life, too, moved through these same spaces, and though people were busy working fields, preparing meals, tending fires, they noticed these small creatures sharing their homes. The medieval world was full of noise and labor, yet always, somewhere in the corner of a kitchen or beneath a window or high in a barn loft, the cat slept peacefully. And so, as we step deeper into this quiet history, we begin to see how environment shaped routine, how the medieval world, built of stone and straw warmth and cold sound and silence, became the backdrop for countless feline naps. Understanding this setting allows us to appreciate the gentle rhythms that guided medieval cats through their days and nights. Now that we've walked through their world, we can explore the roles they played within it, roles that made their rest not only necessary, but deeply intertwined with medieval life. In the quiet expanse of the medieval world, where nights lingered longer than our modern eyes are used to, and the cold pressed gently through stone and timber, cats became masters of finding comfort. Long before soft cushions, heated rooms, or cozy pet beds were common, medieval felines crafted their own havens of warmth, weaving themselves into the very fabric of daily life. Their sleeping spots reveal far more than where a creature might rest. They unveil a tender glimpse into the homes, habits, and silent corners of a bygone world. Most medieval households, whether grand or humble, had one thing in common. The heart of the home was wherever warmth gathered. For a cat, warmth was life itself, especially during the depths of winter when chill winds curled through. Cracks in wooden walls and frost lingered on the edges of windows. The medieval cat knew how to find the warmest places before anyone else did, guided by instinct, experience, and a quiet sensitivity to comfort. One of the most beloved places for a medieval cat to sleep was by the hearth. In cottages, this hearth was often little more than a simple fire pit with a clay chimney. In castles, it might be a grand stone fireplace with soot-darkened bricks reaching far above. But no matter its size, the fire gave life to the room, casting long shadows across the floor, filling the air with a gentle crackle and radiating heat that seeped into tired bones. Cats would curl beside it, tails wrapped neatly around them, eyelids heavy and slow. Sometimes they slept directly on the warm stones, sometimes on old cloths placed near the embers, and sometimes atop wooden logs waiting their turn to feed the flames. Their small shapes, tucked tightly into themselves, became a kind of symbol that even in the harshest times, warmth could be found. Another common sleeping place was the straw-filled corner of a home. Many medieval houses used straw for bedding, insulation, and even flooring. Clean, dry straw gave a soft, rustling cushion that cats adored. In monasteries, a cat might push its way into a pile of fresh straw stored for livestock and settled deep within it, invisible except for the occasional twitch of an ear. In cottages, a woven basket filled with wool, flax, or straw often became an unofficial cat bed, even if originally intended for household work. Women spinning thread would leave a basket of carded wool beside them, only to return moments later to find it occupied by a sleeping cat who had been drawn to its softness. Medieval artwork occasionally shows cats curled into these baskets, their eyes half closed, as if they had no intention of leaving until the very last strand of wool was needed. Windowsills, though humble, were another cherished resting place. Even in winter, a sliver of sunlight could warm the stone ledges beneath narrow medieval windows. Cats would stretch themselves along these sills, basking in the glow, their bodies becoming long ribbons of warmth and tranquility. Travelers passing by village homes often spotted cats perched in windows, watching the world outside with a slow, drowsy gaze. It was a familiar, comforting sight, one that bridged the lives of humans and animals through simple stillness. In Grunda homes, cats sometimes found themselves resting in more luxurious places. A noble household might offer a cat a cushion filled with feathers or wool, left near the master's chair or beneath a carved wooden bench. These cushions were not originally intended for cats, yet the cats claimed them with the certainty of little money. And truly, in a world where warmth and comfort were rare treasures, a cat who found such a spot was unlikely to relinquish it without a quiet battle of wills. Medieval letters and household accounts occasionally mentioned cats slipping onto beds, settling atop folded cloaks, or curling at the feet of those who welcomed their company. These small intrusions were often tolerated, even appreciated. For cats were viewed not only as useful mousers but as creatures whose presence brought a certain peace to the home. Monasteries offered their own special resting places. The cloister gardens, with their sheltered walkways and calm atmosphere, were ideal for naps. Sunlight pooled gently in these square courtyards, illuminating patches of grass and low stone benches. A monastery cat could be found dozing beneath a rose bush or beside a patch of herbs tended by the monks. Inside the scriptorium, the warmth from candles and the steady presence of monks copying manuscripts made for an environment so soothing that cats often curled beneath desks or near stacks of parchment. It is in these quiet spaces that we occasionally find little paw prints and surviving books of Vedas, of a mischievous or simply sleepy cat, stepping where it wasn't teement. These tiny impressions carry the warmth of the moment across centuries. Even barns and stables had their feline sleepers. Barn cats curled atop hay bales, their small forms hidden in golden piles that smelled of dried summer fields. In winter, when animals huddled together for warmth, a barn cat might slip into a stable stall and rest close to a gentle horse or a calm cow, sharing their heat. Farmers saw this not as a nuisance, but as a natural part of the barn's life, a mutual exchange of quiet companionship. Wherever medieval people lived, they accepted the sleeping cat as part of the scenery. To see a cat tucked into a warm corner brought a sense of comfort, even if unspoken. People believed that a peacefully sleeping cat signaled a safe home, one free of pests, one with steady warmth, one where daily rhythms flowed as they should. For some, cats symbolized good fortune. For others, They were simply familiar presences woven into everyday life. Artists of the time clearly noticed this. In manuscripts, carvings, and even tapestries, cats often appear in restful poses, curled beside spinning wheels, dozing at the feet of saints, or sleeping near the Virgin Mary in scenes meant to reflect domestic calm. Their presence helped paint a picture of medieval life. It was not all hardship and labor, but also moments of stillness. In these images, the cat anchors the scene, offering viewers a glimpse of the gentle side of a world often remembered for its turmoil. Tonight, as we imagine these soft corners and cozy shadows, hearthstones glowing, straw rustling softly, sunlight drifting through narrow windows, we begin to understand why medieval cats seemed always at rest. It wasn't laziness or mystery. It was simply the wisdom of a creature who knew where peace lived. Wherever humans created warmth, routine, and shelter, cats found their place within it. Their sleeping spots, scattered across cottages, monasteries, barns, and castles, became symbols of comfort itself. And so the medieval cat, with its slow breaths and quiet dreams, wove itself into history not through grandeur but through the most unassuming act of all, finding a place to rest. In the quiet folds of medieval life, where belief and superstition lived side by side with daily chores, even the simple act of a cat curling into sleep could take on layers of meaning. People of the Middle Ages walked through a world where the natural and the supernatural intertwined like threads in a tapestry. And into that tapestry wandered the catsafod, watchful and endlessly enigmatic. Their sleeping habits, so peaceful and ordinary to us today, carried whispers of folklore, omens, and quiet wonder to the medieval mind. Before fear, suspicion, or the darker chapters of history overshadowed them, cats were often seen as mysterious companions, creatures who moved freely between the comfort of the home and the strangeness of the night. A sleeping cat, resting soundlessly in a corner or on a warm stone ledge, seemed to many like a keeper of secrets, an animal who understood things humans did not. Perhaps that is why gentle folklore began to form around the dozing feline, woven from curiosity and affection more than fear. One charming belief suggested that when a cat slept with its paws tucked neatly beneath its body, it was storing good fortune in its fur. Farmers, especially those in quieter villages, believed this posture predicted calm weather ahead. A cat curled tightly foretold cold winds. A cat stretched luxuriously across the floor promised warmth and sun. It was not unusual for a medieval family to glance toward their sleeping cat before making decisions about travel, planting, or gathering firewood. Another piece of folklore came from seafaring communities. Maroners, ever observant of nature, believed that a cat napping peacefully aboard a ship was a good omen, promising safe waters. Cats were already valued for keeping grain, rope, and food stores free of mice, but a sleeping cat meant something more. Calm seas, favorable winds, and a journey protected by unseen forces. Sailors claimed that cats could sense changes in weather long before humans could. A cat's sudden restless rise or a startled jolt from sleep might send a ripple of concern across the entire crew. In monasteries, where silence and contemplation shaped the rhythm of each day, cats became symbols of tranquility itself. A sleeping cat in the cloister garden was thought to mirror the peaceful soul resting in trust, untouched by distraction. Some monks believed that when a cat fell asleep beside scripture, it was a small sign of divine protection, as though the creature's calmness reflected heavenly quiet. Manuscript margins occasionally show cats curled gently by the feet of saints or lounging near scribes, not as symbols of mischief, but as reminders of the stillness that every spiritual path sought. Yet the Middle Ages were also marked by uneasy fears of omens, spirits, and the unknown. And so, as folklore often does, the stories surrounding cats eventually drifted into shadows as well. During times of heightened superstition, people sometimes looked at a sleeping cat and wondered whether its dreams wandered somewhere humans could not follow. Some believed that cats, especially when they slept deeply for long stretches, could travel between the physical world and the spiritual one. A cat resting still and silent for too long might be interpreted by suspicious minds as something unnatural, an animal waiting to carry out the bidding of a witch. These were not everyday thoughts in every home. Most people continued to treat their cats with affection and practicality. Yet fear has a way of reshaping even the most innocent scenes. For a time, the gentle image of a sleeping cat became tangled with myths of the familiar spirit, a supernatural helper associated with witches. But even in this darker climate, stories of kindness persisted. In one village tale from northern Europe, an elderly woman was said to own a cat that slept beside her hearth every evening. Its fur warmed to a deep, silken softness. When villagers grew wary of her quiet life and whispered that she might practice forbidden magic, it was the presence of her sleeping cat, calm, harmless, and beloved by the local children, that softened their suspicions. Children would slip into her cottage to pet the cat as it slumbered, enchanted not by fear but by the peaceful rise and fall of its breath. The woman lived out her days quietly, protected in part by the trust that a sleeping cat inspired. To many medieval poets and storytellers, the sleeping cat became a gentle symbol of domestic serenity. One small verse, written by an unknown hand and preserved in the corner of an old manuscript, paints a picture of simple contentment. Soft coils the cat by evening flame, no thought of storm or night to tame. Eyes closed to all the world may be, yet dreams keep watch more faithfully. The lines are humble, yet they capture something timeless, the sense that a cat at rest watches over the home even in slumber. Tonight, as we wander softly through these layers of myth and memory, we see how cats occupied a unique space in medieval imagination. A sleeping cat could be a sign of peace, a bearer of luck, a quiet guardian, or a subject of curious wonder. Sometimes feared, sometimes adored, but always noticed. They shaped stories simply by doing what they do best, closing their eyes, folding into warmth, and drifting into dreams. Their naps wove themselves into the beliefs of the era, reflecting both the hopes and anxieties of a world searching for meaning in every corner of life. And through it all, the cat slept on, unaware that its gentle slumber was shaping legends that would echo long beyond its own quiet lifetime. In the next chapter, we will explore how these simple, steady habits helped the medieval cat survive the challenges of its world, and how their legacy of peaceful napping still lingers in the quiet corners of our homes today. In the stillness of the night, when the medieval world dimmed into hushed whispers and glowing embers, cats curled into themselves and drifted quietly into sleep. It was in these simple, steady moments that a legacy was born, one not shaped by grand battles or monumental inventions, but by the gentle rhythm of rest. The medieval cat, small and unassuming, left behind a heritage woven not from noise but from calmness. Their sleepy presence carried meaning in the lives of the people around them, and even today, this legacy lingers in the way our modern cats dream, stretch, and settle into soft corners of our homes. To understand the lasting influence of the medieval cat, we first imagine the world they inhabited. Life then was harder, colder, and filled with uncertainty. People lived closely with the natural world, relying on their surroundings to survive each season. Cats, with their quiet grace and unmatched skill, became essential allies. Their sleep was not laziness, nor was it seen as Instead, rest was understood as a vital part of their nature, a necessary preparation for the work they performed when dusk fell across the land. Night was the cat's time, just as it had been for countless generations before. The medieval mouser awoke when the world settled, when grain was stored, when leftover scraps lay quiet in the shadows. Their naps allowed them to conserve strength for the hours when they were most needed. A well-rested cat meant fewer mice in granaries, fewer rats in storerooms, and safer food supplies for an entire household. Their sleep, gentle as it appeared, supported a rhythm that helped medieval families survive. And yet, despite the practical needs cats fulfilled, there was something deeper in their connection to humans. People noticed the comfort of their sleeping forms, the way a dozing cat softened the mood of a room, or how its presence brought warmth to moments of pause. In cottages, barns, and even grand halls, cats became symbols of quiet continuity. They were always there, naps following meals, naps following hunts, naps taken in every warm patch of sunlight. For a world that often struggled to find stillness, the cat offered a reflection of peace. As time moved forward, this peaceful presence began shaping the human experience in quiet ways. People grew accustomed to seeing cats woven into daily scenes, curled in straw baskets, lounging near spinning wheels, or sleeping beneath the shade of monastery cloisters. Their restful shapes brought small moments of beauty into lives marked by labor. Even those living in harsher conditions found solace in watching a cat rest its breath steady, its paws tucked, its tail wrapped delicately around its body. This calm companionship became part of the cultural memory of the Middle Ages. Artwork captured it in gentle strokes, illuminated manuscripts showing cats near writing desks, tapestries portraying them dozing near nobles, and carvings nestled into wooden furniture depicting small, curled felines. These images were not created simply because cats existed. They were created because cats mattered. Their presence provided a sense of comfort worth preserving. Through centuries, the behavior of cats remained remarkably unchanged. The medieval cat slept long hours, just as cats do today, following a rhythm older than any human civilization. It is this ancient, shared pattern that allows us to see our modern feline companions as direct heirs to their medieval ancestors. When a cat curls beside a window, or settles atop a warm blanket, or stretches luxuriously before resting its head, it is echoing the same habits that shaped the experiences of people living hundreds of years ago. There is a kind of continuity in this unbroken line of quiet comfort. In a world that changes rapidly, the sleeping cat remains one of the few constants. Medieval families, living by candlelight and fire, watched cats sleeping peacefully beside them. Today, we do the same, though our homes glow with electric lights and digital screens. Yet the sight still brings the same calmness. A resting cat softens the edges of life, reminding us to slow down, to breathe, and to appreciate small moments of stillness. This is the enduring legacy of the medieval cat nap. The simple recognition that rest is not just a pause in life, but a part of life itself. Medieval people understood this intuitively. They saw the wisdom in the cat's ability to seek comfort, warmth, and quiet, an ability many of us struggle to embrace even now. The medieval cat slept because it needed to, but it also slept because it trusted its home, its human companions, and the world around it enough to close its eyes. In this trust, a bond formed across centuries. Even today, when a cat chooses to sleep near us, it carries that ancient gesture forward. It echoes the companionship shared in cottages and cloisters long ago. It reminds us gently that rest can be an act of faith, a silent declaration that we are safe and home and at peace. So tonight, as we reflect on these sleepy creatures of the past, we find ourselves connected by something beautifully simple. The medieval cat, with its soft purr and slow breaths, shaped a part of human history that was never written in chronicles or carved into stone, but lived quietly at the edges of daily life. Its legacy lives on in every cozy stretch, every contented curl, every quiet nap taken in a sunlit corner. And as you drift toward rest, perhaps you can carry that same wisdom with you, the understanding that there is strength in stillness, peace in pause, and comfort in giving yourself permission to simply be. For just as medieval cats once slept through storms, seasons, and centuries, trusting the quiet around them, you too can find your own soft place to rest and settle gently into the night. In the gentle hush of medieval evenings, when the sky deepened into shades of blue ink and hearth fires glowed softly behind shuttered windows, a unique companionship unfolded between humans and their quietly observant feline neighbors. It was not the loud, eager companionship of dogs, nor the ceremonial bond between nobles and their falcons. Instead, it was something far softer and understanding, built through shared stillness, small rituals, and the silent rhythm of everyday life. In villages, cloisters, cottages, and castles, the medieval cat wove itself into human existence. Not through demand. To understand the bond between humans and cats in the Middle Ages, we must first imagine daily life as it was. People woke early, labored long, and spent their days surrounded by natural sounds, the clatter of tools, the creak of wooden wheels, and the distant hum of wind against fields and walls. In this world, a cat slipping silently across a doorstep or curling beneath a table brought an unexpected softness. Their movement light, deliberate, almost musical in its stillness, carried a calming effect on those who noticed it. While the medieval mind was shaped by duty and survival, The gentle presence of a cat offered a rare moment of quiet companionship. Farmers valued their cats deeply. Though the relationship was often practical, it grew into a quiet partnership over time. A barn cat who slept soundly in a pile of straw meant that the grains stored nearby were safe. A cat who settled into the same warm corner night after night became part of the farm's rhythm, its little habits familiar and comforting. Families often left scraps or warm milk for their feline helpers, not out of obligation, but out of affection. And though cats were independent, many formed attachments returning to the same home, shadowing the same farmer, or curling beside the same hearthstone whenever the family gathered. Children formed particularly strong bonds with cats. In an era when toys was simple and entertainment came from the imagination, a sleeping cat became a quiet companion. Children watched them breathe, listened for purrs, and sometimes whispered stories into their soft fur. Medieval illustrations occasionally showed children with cats resting peacefully in their laps, their connection captured in gentle lines of ink and color. To a child in the Middle Ages, a cat was warmth and magic, coming to creature that slept endlessly, moved with secret purpose, and appeared to understand more than it revealed. In monasteries, the companionship between monks and cats took on an almost spiritual quality. Monastic life empathized silence, contemplation, and careful attention to small tasks. A cat moving through the cloister or sleeping near a scriptorium desk became part of this quiet world. Some monks kept cats as silent guardians of the writing rooms, grateful for the protection against mice that might chew through parchment or nibble binding threads. But more than that, they found comfort in the company of an animal whose stillness mirrored their own daily practice. A cat curled at the foot of a wooden bench became a living emblem of peace, a reminder of the simplicity and purity they sought. Nobles, too, developed fond ties with their cats. While not every noble household adored felines, many did. A noble woman spinning wool might have a cat resting peacefully in her lap. A scholar in a castle library might keep a cat nearby, not just for practical protection of manuscripts, but because its presence softened the long hours spent reading by candlelight. Letters from the era occasionally mention a beloved household cat. Its behavior commented upon with surprising tenderness, as though its naps and purrs held emotional weight. Perhaps the most powerful bond of all was unspoken. The sense of trust a cat offered by choosing its resting places. A cat only slept deeply in spaces where it felt safe. To medieval people, this silent trust was meaningful. A sleeping cat in a home suggested that the household was stable, warm, and free from hidden dangers. A cat who rested freely in a family's presence was a quiet sign of harmony. Even in uncertain times, when sickness or hardship touched the region, the sight of a cat curled in soft slumber gave reassurance life continued. Warmth remained, and peace could still be found in small corners. Of course, the relationship was not always perfect. Some people held superstitions, especially during certain periods when fear spread easily. But even during those times, countless families continued to welcome cats into their daily routines, allowing them to rest on beds of straw, curled beside infants' cradles, or nap on the warm stones near ovens. The bond endured because it was rooted not in spectacle, but in familiarity and comfort. One gentle tale from the medieval countryside tells of an aging miller who worked long hours grinding grain. Each night, when he returned to his cottage, a cat would be waiting on the doorstep. Its tail curled neatly around its feet. It would lead him inside, settle on a small wooden stool beside the fire, and close its eyes. The miller claimed that the calmness of the cat helped him rest after long days. He said that when the cat slept, the house itself seemed to breathe easier. When he grew older and slower, the cat remained his companion, a quiet presence in his final years, resting beside him as time softened and the seasons turned. After his passing, villagers remembered the miller not alone, but always with the image of his faithful, drowsy cat by the fire. Their companionship had been subtle, like a whisper rather than a voice, yet unforgettable. As we reflect on these quiet bonds, we see how the medieval cat shaped human life, not through noise or demand, but through the gentlest form of presence. Their naps wrapped the home in calm. Their steady breath softened the worries of the day. Their trusts shone in the peaceful way they folded into rest, reminded humans of safety and warmth. And today, the legacy continues. When a cat climbs onto your lap, curls into a circle, and drifts into dreams. It echoes the same companionship shared hundreds of years ago. When a cat sleeps beside your bed, on your care, or at your window, it brings the same quiet comfort it once brought to farmers, monks, nobles, and children of the medieval world. The bond remains, unbroken not because cats changed, but because we understood their gift, the ability to bring peace simply by being present, calm, and at rest. As you drift deeper into the night, remember that this companionship, ancient and gentle, has always guided humans towards softness, one quiet breath, one slope or one peaceful nap at a time. In the Hentley, flickering world of medieval illumination, where monks bent over parchment by the light of tall beeswax candles and pigments gleamed like jewels on calfskin pages, cats occasionally wandered into view, not majestically posed, not caught mid-hunt, not even presented as symbols in the strict theological sense, but resting, curled into soft spirals of fur, stretched lazily across the edge of a manuscript, or tucked into the folds of a scribe's robe. They appear almost by accident, as though the artist merely glanced up, saw a sleeping cat by the hearth, and thought, yes, this belongs here too. Their presence is gentle, unobtrusive, and wonderfully human. In this chapter, we drift quietly into those artistic corners to explore how medieval art preserved the tender stillness of a cat at rest. When we look at illuminated manuscripts, we often expect intricate vines, elaborate borders, saints, angels, knights, or mythical beasts twined around the letters. But occasionally, nestled amid the gold leaf and meticulous calligraphy, lies a tiny sketch of a cat curled in contentment. These images were not formal signatures or official symbols. They were usually little additions, marginalia drawn by scribes who lived with cats every day. And because these books were created slowly, page by page, in silent scriptoria, a cat's presence in the margins is almost like a quiet companion immortalized beside the monk who worked long into the night. One well-known detail from medieval writings describes a scribe whose cat repeatedly knocked over ink pots, leaving paw prints on his precious pages. He did not scold the animal. Instead, he wrote a small poem complaining gently about the chaos. And so his frustration and the cat's sleepy indifference passed into history together. Though not an illustration, it feels like a piece of visual art, a moment captured in time. Many scholars now believe cats often wandered around scriptoria the way they wander across keyboards today, not simply seeking warmth and company. Their naps beside working scribes became a familiar and calming presence, and sometimes those naps slipped into the artwork itself. In some manuscripts, the cats look entirely realistic. Plump domestic mousers curled beside a basket of wool, or stretched in that long, luxurious pose cats take when they melt into sunlit warmth. In others, the style becomes charmingly exaggerated. A cat might be shown with an oversized round head, or with fur shaped like soft, swirling lines. Medieval artists were not always aiming for anatomical precision. Instead, they captured essence, and the essence of a cat, to them, was often slowness, sleepiness, or the gentle ease of a creature that felt completely at home in human spaces. Castle manuscripts reflect slightly different scenes. In the homes of nobles, cats sometimes slept on cushions, or near tapestries, where warmth lingered in the thick weave. Illuminations from wealthier households occasionally showed cats nestled near ladies of the court, resting peacefully during embroidery or reading. These tiny artistic snapshots reveal that even amidst the grandeur of feasts, diplomacy, and political intrigue, someone, perhaps a lady-in-waiting, perhaps a scribe, found value in including the humble image of a dozing cat. It softens those grand settings. It adds a thread of everyday domestic life inside otherwise formal depictions. Yet the depictions in monastic manuscripts are the most soothing of all. A cat beside a monk suggests a harmony between the contemplative and the quietly contented. Monks live by strict schedules, praying, copying, texts, gardening, cooking, and reading. Cats live by another ancient schedule entirely, the schedule of warmth, instinct, and rest. And when these two rhythms overlapped in a shared room, the resulting artwork showed a moment of peaceful coexistence. In one manuscript, a cat naps directly beside a monk's footstool. In another, The cat curls into a tight ball under a wooden writing desk, practically invisible except for the delicate strokes that hinted its fur. Often, the cats in these illustrations were not symbolic at all. They were not saints, sinners, warnings, or allegories. Medieval artists loved symbolism, but sleeping cat seemed to have escaped that heavy burden. A sleeping cat in a manuscript was simply a sleeping cat, a glimpse into ordinary life, drawn with affection. And that makes these moments all the more precious. In a world where most art was commissioned with purpose and meaning, these small, restful creatures slipped in quietly and brought with them the universal reminder of peace. We also find cats in other forms of medieval art, carved into wood, stitched into tapestries, or shaped in small household items. A carved chest might show a cat curled around a cluster of leaves in the corner, almost hidden. A tapestry showing the bustling life of a noble household might include a cat by the hearth, head tucked beneath its tail. Pottery fragments have been discovered with simple sketches of cats, lounging in formal, quick strokes, almost playful. These were not grand works meant for eternity, but everyday objects touched by the artist's memory of a familiar companion. In some marginalia, the humor of medieval scribes shines through. Cats are shown snoring, stretching, or lying flat on their backs with paws in the air, the universal cat pose of utter trust. Others show cats presumably dozing through events that unfold around them, battles, feasts, theological debates. Their eyes remain closed, their bodies limp with comfort, as if the entire medieval world could whirl around them and they would still prefer sleep. These humorous touches remind us that the people creating these books had the same fond amusement for their cats that we do today. But beyond humor, there is warmth. Each sleepy cat drawn on a medieval page tells us that the artist noticed these animals, valued their presence, and wanted to preserve the comfort they brought to daily life. When a scribe added a little curled figure in the margin, he was pausing to acknowledge the quiet companionship that softened long hours of work. When an embroiderer stitched a cat beneath a noble lady's chair, she was celebrating a creature that turned any room into a home. In Manual, these images echo across time. They remind us that the medieval world, for all its hardships, was also filled with small domestic joys. A warm spot by the fire, a soft blanket, a tired cat settling into slumber. These things are timeless. They connect us not through grand events, but through the humble, familiar rhythms of life. The scribes and artists who lived through plagues, wars, famines, and cold winters still found comfort in depicting a sleeping cat. And through their hands, that comfort travels across centuries to meet us now. When we look at these images today, whether in museums or in digitized archives, something very gentle happens. The noise of modern life quiets for a moment. We see that little curl shape on parchment, wrapped in gold leaf borders or tucked into the corner of a page, and we feel the same warmth the scribe might have felt when he glanced down at the real cat beneath his desk. The art does not teach us a moral. It does not demand interpretation. It simply invites us to pause, to breathe, to notice the peacefulness of a creature for whom the world narrows to warmth, stillness, and comfort. And so, as we close this chapter and drift deeper into the story of medieval cats, we carry with us these gentle, ink-bound memories. The tiny whiskers drawn with careful strokes, the rounded backs curled into sleep, the soft paws lifted in dreams. The medieval world was many things, loud, cold, uncertain, but somewhere within it. On quiet afternoons in scriptoria, or warm evenings in noble halls, a cat slept peacefully, and an artist saw fit to preserve that moment forever. In the medieval world, life was shaped by the rhythm of the seasons, the biting chill of winter, the thawing arrival of spring, the warmth of summer, and the gentle fading into autumn dictated how humans lived, worked, and rested. And just as people adapted, so too did the medieval cat, weaving its own patterns of sleep and activity around the ebb and flow of the natural year. To understand these creatures more fully, we must follow them through the seasons, observing how their naps, their warm-seeking, and their quiet routines reflected the ever-changing world around them. Winter, perhaps the harshest and longest season in much of medieval Europe, demanded snow drifted across village rooftops, winds pierced through the cracks of cottages, and stone halls of castles seemed to hold the cold even after fires had been lit. In these frozen months, a cat's instinct to seek warmth became almost ritualistic. They would curl in the closest patch of sunlight that managed to pierce a window, or press themselves against a warm hearth. Fur fluffed to trap the precious heat. In barns, cats would nestle into mounds of straw or huddle with livestock, sharing their body warmth in silent cooperation. Sleep in winter was deeper, more frequent, and longer lasting. Each nap was a necessary survival tool, conserving energy while allowing the cat to remain alert enough for occasional hunting. Humans noticed these winter behaviors with affection. Farmers often left extra straw for the cats, ensuring they had dry, comfortable resting places. In castles, servants might add a folded blanket or soft cloth near the fireplace for favored felines. The sight of a sleeping cat in winter was more than mere charm, it was reassurance. The animals were safe, the food stores were guarded, and the household had a small, reliable source of warmth and companionship. Children, often cold and restless, found comfort in curling up near a dozing barn cat, its soft breathing and warmth creating a microcosm of security in the icy world outside. Spring brought a shift, with longer days, warmer air, and the budding of gardens and fields. Cats adjusted their routines. They spent more time outdoors, basking in the sun, hunting for early mice, and exploring the subtle changes of their environment. Their naps became interspersed with activity, and their sleeping spots moved to shaded nooks, where they could feel the breeze without losing comfort. In monasteries, cats might wander through gardens, rolling in patches of soft grass before curling under an arch for a mid-morning rest. Castle cats might pause atop stone walls warmed by sunlight, ears flicking as they napped lightly, ever aware of passing footsteps or the distant flutter of birds. Spring was a season of balance, activity and rest, alertness and stillness. Summer, with its heat and long daylight, encouraged cats to find shade, cool stones, or breezy corners for sleep. In villages, cats would often retreat to the thick walls of homes or barns, where temperatures remained steady and pleasant. They became masters of timing their naps with the rise and fall of the sun, sleeping in the softest hours of warmth and shifting to cooler spots during the peak heat. Castles offered shaded galleries, high ledges, or woven mats placed near open windows. Monasteries, too, became a mosaic of sun and shadow, with cats moving deliberately from cloistered walkways into cooler courtyards or tiled floors. Each cat seemed to intuitively follow a seasonal choreography, balancing rest, warmth, and vigilance with quiet precision. Autumn, the season of fading light and harvests, brought its own rhythms. Cats returned to more frequent indoor naps, drawn to the warmth of kitchens, hearths, and straw bedding freshly prepared for winter. They observed the harvest bustle with mild curiosity, sometimes choosing a cozy vantage point near the grain stores or baskets of freshly picked vegetables. Villagers preparing for the colder months found in these cats a reminder of routine and stability. Their calm presence mirrored the orderly cycles of planting, gathering, and storing, offering both humans and cats a sense of continuity amid the seasonal changes. Across all these seasons, one pattern remained consistent. Cats sought comfort wherever they could find it. Winter, spring, summer, or autumn. Their naps were not indulgent, but necessary, purposeful, and attuned to the environment. In this way, they taught medieval humans a subtle lesson: the importance of rhythm, adaptation, and the quiet observation of natural cycles. A cat sleeping in winter taught patience and endurance. A cat dozing in summer showed the wisdom of finding relief and ease amid activity. The rhythms of feline life offered a template for human life, steady, adaptive, and harmonious with nature. Moreover, seasonal sleep patterns were not merely functional. They became entwined with medieval folklore and domestic storytelling. Winter naps might be linked to protection from spirits, spring naps to fertility and abundance, and summer rests to calm and good fortune. These associations, gentle as they were, reveal how humans interpreted and appreciated the subtle behaviors of their feline companions. In some regions, stories noted that a cat choosing a particularly warm or unusual sleeping spot might foreshadow weather patterns or the success of crops, a testament to the close observation and respect medieval people paid to these quiet, intuitive animals. Through all seasons, the enduring image of the medieval cat remains the same: a creature folded into itself, trusting the world enough to sleep, yet alert enough to respond when necessary. Their adaptability, their instinct for warmth, and their graceful negotiation of human and environmental spaces preserved not only their survival but also their place in human life. In barns, kitchens, and libraries, they moved fluidly between the practical and the serene. They were hunters and companions, guardians and storytellers, resting quietly while shaping the rhythm of homes and hearts. As we imagine these cats moving through the seasons, sunlight pooling on cold stone and winter grass, tickling paws in spring-tiled floors, cool beneath them in summer and golden straw, cradling them in autumn, we see a continuous thread of calm, wise presence. The medieval world was full of change and uncertainty, yet the feline rhythm remained steady. It offered humans a subtle continuity, the knowledge that despite the hardships, the cold, the warmth, or the labor, there was always a creature who understood balance and simplicity. And tonight, as we drift alongside them through centuries of snow, sun, and harvest, we sense that same calm in ourselves. Just as medieval cats adjusted to each season with grace, so too can we find places of warmth, comfort, and peaceful rest in our own ever-changing world. Their naps, unnoticed and gentle though they were, shaped not just their lives, but ours, echoing across time in quiet companionship. In medieval homes, castles, monasteries, and humble cottages alike, the cat's presence was never simply ornamental. Beneath the soft curl of fur, beneath the slow, rhythmic rise and fall of a sleeping belly, these creatures played a quiet, indispensable role. They were guardians not with weapons or loud alarm, but with presence, instinct, and an uncanny ability to protect and maintain the delicate balance of household life. This chapter explores the subtle yet profound ways in which medieval cats shaped domestic harmony, ensuring safety, warmth, and comfort for their human companions. Cats were valued first and foremost for their role in pest control. Grain stores, kitchens, and barns were always at risk from mice and rats, which could destroy valuable supplies. A single sleeping cat might appear utterly serene and unconcerned, yet its rest was carefully measured, conserving energy for the moments it was most needed. The cat would awaken with precision at dusk or dawn, slipping silently through the shadows, chasing or trapping rodents with expertise. The human eye might only see a curled, contented creature basking near the hearth, but the household knew the unspoken protection it offered. Sleep, in this sense, was not laziness, it was preparation, a vital part of a rhythm that kept both food and family safe. In castles, the protective nature of cats was equally important. Great halls were filled with treasures cloth, food, manuscripts, and textiles that could easily fall prey to pests. A cat dozing on a warm stone ledge near tapestries was more than a companion. It was a subtle sentinel, its senses tuned even while resting. Castle servants often noted these quiet guardianship duties, praising the skill of a cat that seemed to sleep deeply, yet never allowed a mouse to escape its notice. Medieval accounts sometimes refer to the faithful cat, acknowledging that its role in maintaining household order was as valuable as any human servant's labor. Monasteries offer some of the most charming evidence of feline guardianship. Within the quiet cloisters, cats moved among the monks as silent protectors of scripture, parchment, and food stores. A cat would curl beneath a desk in the scriptorium, asleep to the human eye, yet ready to leap toward a rat or mouse threatening the carefully copied manuscript. In some accounts, cats were allowed to roam freely, their quiet vigilance appreciated by monks who themselves lived by careful routines. These cats were not just companions. They were essential to maintaining the spiritual and practical order of the monastery. Beyond their practical duties, cats contributed to a household's sense of calm. Their steady, measured breathing, the warmth of their curled body, and the gentle weight of a cat choosing to rest near a person all conveyed reassurance. In an era when homes were drafty, kitchens smoky, and barns filled with unpredictable animals, the presence of a sleeping cat could soften the edges of daily life. People believed that cats brought a form of quiet harmony, warding off both pests and, in a symbolic sense, disharmony itself. The medieval mind often interpreted the calm demeanor of a cat as an indicator that the household was balanced, safe, and prosperous. Folklore often intertwined with these practical observations. It was commonly believed that a cat choosing to sleep in certain areas of the home could bring luck or protection. A cat resting near the threshold of a house might guard against intruders, whether human or spiritual. A cat settling in the kitchen could ensure the abundance of food. Even today, echoes of these beliefs remain in sayings and traditions, highlighting how the medieval understanding of feline presence combined both observation and imagination. Children, too, were affected by the harmony that cats brought. In homes where play was simple, a sleeping cat became both a soft audience and a participant in gentle games. Children learned patience, gentleness, and quiet observation by watching a cat at rest. The animal's calm presence subtly taught them how to navigate the household without causing chaos, how to respect boundaries, and how to find small pockets of warmth and comfort amidst daily labor. In this way, the cat's guardianship extended beyond pest control to the shaping of domestic culture and social behavior. Even in the midst of human conflict or stress, cats remained steadfast. In villages threatened by harsh winters, in castles navigating political intrigue, in monasteries facing illness or scarcity, cats continued their quiet routines. They slept where they pleased, hunted when necessary, and provided a comforting presence to all who shared their environment. Their constancy gave humans a subtle sense of stability, reminder that some rhythms of life could remain unbroken. No matter how uncertain the world might be, the medieval household, in turn, responded with respect and care. Cats were fed, provided with warm sleeping areas, and allowed the freedom to move as they pleased. This mutual understanding strengthened the bond between human and feline, creating a harmonious coexistence that enhanced life for both. The cat's ability to seamlessly balance rest, observation, and action became an emblem of wisdom, a creature whose behavior, though simple on the surface, carried profound influence over daily life. Through this quiet guardianship, medieval cats carved a legacy that resonates today. Modern cat owners may not face drafty stone halls or rodent-filled barns, but the comfort a sleeping cat provides remains the same. Their presence reminds us of the value of rest, vigilance, and calm observation. In the same way, medieval families found reassurance in a cat curled by the fire or nestled near a stack of grain. We find solace in the soft weight and gentle breathing of our feline companions. Tonight, as we imagine these quiet guardians moving through medieval households, slipping from sunny window ledges to hearths, curling in corners, and watching the home with sleepy attentiveness, we feel their presence even across centuries. They were more than pets. They were partners, protectors, and embodiments of calm. Their legacy is not measured in grandeur, wealth, or fame, but in the silent, sustaining influence they offered to the people who shared their world. In this reflection, we see that the medieval cat's role in household harmony was profound. Their ability to rest deeply while remaining alert, to provide comfort while guarding against harm, and to teach humans the value of stillness, patience, and observation was extraordinary in its quiet simplicity. And it is this legacy that continues to shape our understanding of cats today. Creatures whose subtle presence enriches our homes, brings stability to our daily lives, and offers a reminder that calm, steady companionship is a gift far greater than we often realize. As you settle deeper into your own space tonight, perhaps with a cat at your side or a quiet sense of warmth around you, imagine the centuries of cats who have done the same. Their gentle guardianship, their calm rhythms, and their silent wisdom echo across time, connecting the medieval world to our present in a soft, enduring thread of peace and comfort. As the candlelight fades in our imagined medieval homes, and the flickering shadows stretch across rough-hewn walls and soft straw bedding, we come to the final reflections on the quiet lives of these extraordinary creatures. The medieval cat, with its simple, hand-lay habits, has left behind a legacy that stretches far beyond the stone cottages, monasteries, and grand castles where it once roamed. Its influence, quiet yet profound, persists in the rhythm of modern life, in the domestic warmth of our homes, and in the timeless comfort of a cat at rest. Throughout the Middle Ages, cats lived close to humans, yet they remained independent, observing, resting, and acting according to their own instincts. They were companions, guardians, and sources of comfort, yet they never demanded attention, instead choosing moments of quiet proximity. A cat's nap was not simply an act of idleness. It was a carefully tuned balance of energy conservation, instinctual readiness, and the subtle teaching of trust and calmness. People noticed these qualities, whether in the soft breathing of a barn cat curled in straw, the quiet presence of a monastery mouser beside a scribe, or the gentle repose of a noble household feline resting upon a cushion. The endurance of these habits across centuries is remarkable. Despite the harshness of medieval life, the challenges of weather, labor, and uncertainty, cats maintained a rhythm of rest that modern felines still follow today. Their behaviors, largely unchanged, remind us that some aspects of life, peace, trust, and calm, observation remain timeless. A cat curling into a ball, kneading softly, or stretching lazily in a warm spot is engaging in the same comforting acts as its ancestors did hundreds of years ago, offering the same lessons of presence and patience. Medieval humans, consciously or unconsciously, learned from their feline companions. Watching a cat sleep taught lessons about rhythm, observation, and balance. In the quiet moments when a cat dozed by the hearth, people recognized the value of stillness. In the soft weight of a sleeping cat on a lap, children learned gentleness. In the calm presence of a cat amidst work or study, monks, farmers, and nobles alike found reassurance. The cat's simple act of resting became a subtle teacher, shaping domestic life, work habits, and the appreciation of quiet, comfort. The cultural imprint of the medieval cat is also reflected in art, manuscripts, folklore, and poetry. Tiny marginal illustrations, tapestries, carvings, and even household items captured the serene presence of a sleeping cat. Folk tales and anecdotes celebrated their wisdom, their calm vigilance, and their ability to foster harmony. This documentation offers us not only a glimpse into historical feline behavior, but also a window into medieval human life, rhythms, priorities, and sources of comfort. In observing the cat, humans observed a model of peace amidst the chaos of daily existence. As the Middle Ages gave way to new centuries, the domestic cat remained an enduring companion. The habits honed in those distant centuries, sleeping, observing, resting, continued to provide both practical benefits and emotional solace. Today, cats inhabit spaces very different from barns and cloisters, yet they maintain the same instinctive behaviors. They find warmth, choose comfort, and sleep deeply in familiar spaces. And in doing so, they continue the quiet legacy of their medieval predecessors, linking the present to a past where every nap carried purpose, protection, and gentle companionship. Even the act of watching a cat sleep remains calming for modern humans, echoing the centuries-old bond. Scientific studies have shown that the presence of a calm, resting animal can reduce stress, lower heart rates, and foster a sense of well-being. Medieval humans may not have measured these effects in numbers, but they felt them nonetheless. The rhythms of the medieval cat taught lessons about patience, observation, and the beauty of stillness, principles as valuable now as they were then. So tonight, as we imagine these cats moving silently through history, hunting at dusk, napping in sunlit corners, curling on soft straw, and resting beside their human companions, recognize the enduring thread of continuity. Each gentle purr, each soft breath, each curled tail is part of a long, quiet story. It is the story of a creature who lived alongside humans, providing comfort, protection, and wisdom through nothing more than its presence. And it is the story of humans who learned, in turn, to value stillness, trust, and the simple beauty of life's quiet moments. In the comfort of your own home, as you listen to the soft rise and fall of your own breathing, perhaps there is a cat nearby, or perhaps it is only the memory of countless cats who came before. Their legacy is everywhere. In the warmth of a sunbeam, the quiet corner of a room, the soft weight of a companion on a lap. It is a reminder that even the smallest, simplest acts curling up to rest, breathing calmly, living quietly can shape a world, soothe a heart, and pass from generation to generation with enduring grace. The medieval cat, in its simple wisdom, reminds us that life does not need to be hurried, loud, or overwhelming to matter. A nap, a stretch, a moment of stillness is a gift. From the stone cottages of the countryside to the grand halls of castles, From the cloistered quiet of monasteries to the warm hearths of village homes, cats have offered humans the soft gift of calm for centuries. And tonight, we too are invited to partake in that gift. As we close this chapter, take a deep, slow breath. Imagine the warmth of a cat, the steady rhythm of its sleep, the peace it brings into a home. Let that image linger, letting your own body sink deeper into relaxation. In the quiet, in the gentle stillness, in the timeless presence of the sleeping cat, we find not just history, but comfort, a soft, enduring whisper from the past, reminding us that peace can always be found, one nap at a time. And now, as our journey through the medieval world of feline slumber comes to a close, take a moment to notice your own. Imagine the warmth of a cat curled beside you, the softness of a sunbeam, and the calm rhythm of quiet breathing through barns, cloisters, and castles. Cats of the Middle Ages taught humans the value of stillness, patience, and gentle presence. Their naps were not idle, they were lessons, guardianships, and moments of subtle wisdom. And though centuries have passed, that same quiet legacy continues today. May you carry this peaceful rhythm with you tonight. Let it soften your thoughts, slow your mind, and remind you that rest is a gift, trust is a treasure, and even the smallest companions leave enduring marks on history. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and drift gently into sleep, alongside the timeless, purring wisdom of the medieval cat.